issues. I used to have acne. I used to have skin issues. I used to be bloated. I used to be tired, lethargic, you name it, all the different things in which we're told. And it was interesting because I was told that it was genetic and I was just getting older. That's what they told me. And this was when I was 25, which was funny. So I was like, I've barely been here for barely 25 years, but this is what they were telling me. And nothing really added up, and I couldn't kind of understand it. And so what I started to realize is the professionals that I was talking to only had 5 hours of nutrition and 10 years of schooling. So
Yeah.
when I'm asking them about, how to help heal something, they never talked about nutrition. They would always try to just give me some new, fancy pill and whatever else. So I thought this doesn't make a lot of sense. And in 2019 or 2018, around that time, watched a documentary called GMOs Revealed, which was 22 hours long. And this documentary showed me that our food is being used in a different purpose. It's not the same food as 1902 or any of that time frame anymore. There's a lot of pesticides, chemicals, and toxins and all these things. And Monsanto has a big hand in that. But when I started learning all this, I started changing my diet. I started changing things up. I started eating all organic. I started going out in nature. I started connecting more, hiking and barefoot grounding and things like that. And then learning about different superfoods that I can help heal my body. And instantaneously, all my issues that I was suffering from pretty much went away. And I was like, wow, it was very simple. Just removing the toxins out of my terrain dictate my health. And then so as Cultivate Elevate was created, it was created for also creating additional solutions to the stuff that we face because we're always put in this fear state. Anytime you go to the professional, they're like, oh, you're getting older and you're just falling apart. And it's like it's not like that. If we start to address a root cause, we can heal ourselves and elevate ourselves as a whole. And it's fascinating because when I got into learning about natural remedies were outlawed in 1910 with the Flexner Report. When they started outlawing anybody who did natural healing, they were defunded. So, we don't have a connection to beautiful, Mother Earth and healing because of the fact that over time, the system has programmed us that we need chemicals and toxins. But that's just going to make us worse and then give us a billion other side effects. So, in a nutshell, I'm all about solutions. I'm about removing the fear and about figuring out how we can elevate our homes, our health, and our terrain.
I absolutely love it. And we're going to go through each of these. And picking up on one of the things you say, I have to laugh because, on this journey, we have to sort of let go of a lot of our ego and with all the medicinal properties and how to use them. And my grandma knew it all. She knew it all. And she didn't have a degree in it. She just, they'd been brought up. And not only did they know how to use all the stuff that was around them in their environment, but they knew how to preserve it. They knew, the different ways to use it for different age groups. It was fantastic. So I love the fact that we're trying to reclaim, we often talk about this remembering and really going back to basics. And I'm lucky enough to do most of my work with, I work with humans, but I do most of my work with animals. And they teach us so much, but unfortunately, so many people are caught in that cycle of misinformation. And this is why we need people like you to actually just sort of say, look, take a step at a time. It's not as hard as we've been made to think it is. So one of the things, let's start with the GMOs, because I think still a lot of people just don't realize what a really serious issue this is and how many repercussions there are about what is in our food chain now. Can you give us a little bit of an update on that?
Of course. So a GMO or a gene altered food is a food that has been created and has been patented, and they can actually sue you for property rights, which
Mm.
gets crazy with this whole topic. But basically, it's a gene altered food. They've made it resistant to pesticides and chemicals. So they can spray an abundant amount of pesticides and chemicals on that food. Over 4 billion pounds of pesticides are sprayed on the planet because of GMOs. So it's interesting because the whole marketing ploy is GMOs are going to feed the world and then also save the planet. But in
Mm.
reality, they're poisoning the planet with all of this toxicity. And then what happens is when a person consumes these gene edited foods, then it starts to poison their body because of the pesticides and heavy metals. And they work like an antenna. A lot of them contain a lot of iron, and
Yeah.
iron blocks up the body and blocks up the pathways of the body. So when a person's consuming all of this, it starts to mess with the brain, it messes with the gut lining, messes with the skin, it messes with their energy, their hormones. Glyphosate was originally patented as an antibiotic when it was first created. which means anti-life. So, when you get into the work of glyphosate, you sit there and see there's millions of lawsuits on this.
Yeah.
You can see the lawsuits that have been done, and a lot of them also get hushed under the rug, because they don't want to put out too much so that people get into a state like, oh, I don't want to eat this. And it was interesting because when I was researching all of this, the last study done on organic to show the difference between organic and conventional was done in 1992. And that was the last one. It showed that organic foods yield 100 times more minerals than conventional foods sprayed with pesticides. So when it comes to healing the body, we're usually suffering from lack of nutrients or a mineral deficiency. So if we're not getting minerals from the food and we're buying all this food and it's not providing us minerals, then it's almost like you're just buying nothing, because it's not helping to heal. But if we go over here to the organic side where we're getting 100 times more minerals and we're not getting the pesticides and the sprays and all that, we can begin to heal. And what I started to realize is they've worked in different types of ways to either mess with our mind or our bodies. And with the food system, everybody has to eat. So a
Yeah.
lot of these chemicals and a lot of these things that they put into the food supply, it's because it's going to come into your home. You go to the grocery store, you pick it up, you bring it into your home, and that's why I'm very adamant about people growing their own food. So you know where it comes from, and there's a higher energetic principle to that food. But the whole GMO thing, you trace it back to DDT is good for me and
Mm.
Agent Orange. And people can look into that. And it's just topics to look into of just things that don't make a lot of sense. If we want a healthy planet, we can't poison ourselves at the same time.
Completely. And it's so linked in. I mean, I was sort of working with the Detox Project sort of 10, 15 years ago, who were some of the first people that were measuring the levels of glyphosate in humans, but also in animals. And typically animals have got up to 10 times more, even an animal living in the same environment. So if I measure my dogs, they're likely to have 10 times more glyphosate and other environmental contaminants in than humans. So it's so far reaching this, but also was killing off all the soil. And I'm so pleased you mentioned you're growing your own, because through Jim Gale and his project, Food Forest Abundance, we're just nearly at the end of having our design done for our plot of land. And we're starting really planting that all up in the spring. But that's another thing, isn't it, Matt? They've made people, my grandparents all grew their own vegetables. It was normal back then that you substituted and you grew a lot of your own feed. And even in the UK, where we don't have the weather that you've got, it's amazing how much you can grow. But people have been led to feel, one, that it's not important. So people will rather go and, spend their weekend on a golf course, which is highly sprayed with pesticides, by the way, one of the worst of the lot, rather than working in their own garden and getting that family environment back. It all links into this brainwashing, doesn't it?